everybody. So we are so excited. We are here to basically do kind of our spring movie wrap up. It ended up just being March and April. Talking about, we got to see quite a few movies and quite a bit of variety. And my friend David Healy is here to talk it over with me.
Yep, I'm here. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, thank you. We're going to talk about, we have on the list 33 movies. So that's pretty impressive for 2 months.
Yeah, we did pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, so some of these we've both seen, some of them you've seen, some of them I've seen, and so that'll be fun. So the first one that we have is 7 Days in Entebbe, and this movie is tells the story of the siege, I guess, the hostage situation that happened in like 1970 something, in where these radicals took over this plane and of Jewish citizens to try to get these Palestinian prisoners released. And they ended up landing in Entebbe in Libya, I think, Libya. Anyway, and they end up taking this in 7 days, and there's ends up being this whole. So you follow the people that are trying to liberate these hostage situation, and you also follow both the hostage takers and the hostages, and it was okay. I think it's better than the Rotten Tomatoes score would make you believe. They tried to like humanize the hostage takers, which was bold. I think it's pretty well acted. Rosamund Pike, Daniel Bruhl, some pretty good acting in there, but it definitely makes some weird choices that it takes some risks that do not pay off. There's this whole like continuing interpretive dance sequences that come in between the story that don't work at all, and there's some other just strange choices that don't work. And so yeah, I didn't think it was terrible, though. I learned about this event that I didn't know anything about. So did you get to see this?
I didn't. It's already kind of a movie that doesn't interest me, but when I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, I'm like, yeah, I probably am not going to see this.
Yeah.
I've seen 45 movies so far this year.
46. So we're
Oh,
almost
we're really close.
That's crazy. It seems like you've seen so many more than me.
Nope. I mean, yeah, I see movies more than once a bit. So.
It's just because of Sundance. That's the only reason.
Right.
Because I saw 18 movies at Sundance.
Yep.
So take that out of the question. I'm far behind. Okay, so 7 Days in Entebbe, I have, out of 46, I have 29. I have it at 29th place. I have it just after a documentary called Kasuma Infinity and another documentary that I saw at Sundance called Crime and Punishment. So it's right in there between the documentaries, at 29 out of 46. So that's why I say like right in the middle, I think is where it deserves to be. Okay, so let's talk about Red Sparrow.
Yeah, so I saw Red Sparrow. It wasn't a movie I was excited about seeing. I just this type of movie is not really for me, but it was better than I expected. It's pretty violent. There's a bit of nudity. Like you see a lot of Jennifer Lawrence in this movie, among other people.
Right.
But it was actually better than I expected it to be. I wasn't totally bored. I was intrigued by the plot. It didn't leave a very lasting impression on me, but it still surpassed my expectations. So I had this at, I think, 28. Yeah, 28 out of 46. So that's kind of in the middle. So yeah, it's good for people who like that kind of movie, for sure.
I heard that Jennifer Lopez. I heard that Jennifer Lawrence was really good in it.
She was, yeah. It was a little hard getting past the Russian accent at first because you're so used to hearing her without that sort of accent. But eventually I got used to it.
So you have Thoroughbreds that you have seen. I have not. What do you think?
Yeah, so Thoroughbreds, conversely, was something I really was looking forward to. I thought it looked smart, funny, dark. I liked how they were billing it as like American Psycho meets Heather's.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually disappointed though.
Yeah.
And when I left the theaters with my friends, they all loved it. They were like, "Wow, that was amazing." And I'm like, "Really?"
I
It was,
hate when that happens. I
yeah,
hate it. It's the worst.
I
That
know.
you feel like such a party pooper, and it's like, I'm sorry,
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like we all went into the movie like knowing we were gonna like it. And I feel like I'm the only one who had an open mind to
to
be
not.
disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like they liked it because they knew they were going to like it.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, it wasn't as funny as I thought it would be. Its attempts at humor were very, very subtle, which my friends appreciated that. Sometimes I can appreciate it. It didn't quite work for me. It wasn't as dark as I thought it would be either. And I don't want to undersell it. I did enjoy the movie. It just really didn't quite match up what I
Yeah.
expected. So I still have it ranked pretty high. I have it at number 10. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it
Okay.
sounds like I hate it, but I didn't hate it. It just was not as amazing as I expected it to be. So
Fair enough. Yeah. Secret of happiness in life. Low
I know
expectations.
exactly. It's so true.
It kills you every time.
Really.
So so then you saw there's gonna be a couple here in a row that you saw that I didn't see. So you saw you saw the death of Stalin.
Yeah, The Death of Stalin was kind of a movie that slipped under the radar for me. We didn't preview it at
Yeah.
all. I had seen a trailer here or there, but I didn't know much about it, but I went and saw it, and it was actually really funny. So it's a true story about when Stalin dies and the people trying to take over for him, and kind of this internal struggle between all of them. But this is where a movie can take subtle humor and actually make it work. Like we were all laughing quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um, and now this is going to sound weird because I rank it below Thoroughbreds. Um, because I don't know if it has a lot of rewatch value for me. Like
Hmm.
it was enjoyable, and also it comes down to expectations as well.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
think I'd like it, or is it
I do.
too
No, I
raunchy?
oh no, it's not that raunchy. I think I think you would
Hmm.
like it for sure.
Yeah.
18.
Okay.
So
Cool. Then we had Strangers Pray at Night, and this was one that you really liked the first one a lot, correct?
yeah, I love the first Strangers. It's one of my favorite horror movies. I knew that it would be an uphill battle to kind of compete with the quality of the first one.
Uh,
So yeah, I had low expectations. It didn't have a great Rotten Tomatoes score. So I actually enjoyed it more than I expected,
uh-huh.
based on all of that. I mean, it's not great. There's a lot of predictability to it. It's pretty graphic with its score, but I was entertained, which
Uh-huh.
is about all I can ask for from horror movies these days.
Yeah.
Because there's not a ton of great horror movies that have been released over the years. So I put this one at 25.
Then we have another horror movie that I had to see called Sherlock Gnomes.
I was like, "What? You saw a horror movie?"
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, this really was a terrible movie. I felt bad, honestly, for the animators because there were little moments where you could see that they were kind of like crying out for help. They're like, "Look, we are good at what we do." And because like there would be these moments where it would go into Sherlock's head and it would be in 2D and it would be sort of like an MC Escher kind of painting. It was cool, and then the closing graphics were all in 2D, and they felt like something from the from like like the 80s kind of. They just had like a vintage feel to them, and they were cool. And I don't know, I was just like, oh, but I every character in this movie was annoying, irritating, awful. The villain, I thought for sure it was James Corden. He sounded exactly like him. And in my review, like I was so sure, I didn't even double check it. And then I screwed up on my review, and turned out it wasn't him, but it sounded exactly like him. But the villain was horrible, so irritating, so annoying. That every reveal was annoying. The music was annoying. I mean, I like Elton John, but it was just it was awful. This was an awful movie. And I just felt bad for all involved that in any way,
Is
because
this a is
yeah,
this a movie where you were hoping the villain would win?
yeah,
Kill all the no.
yeah, because there's like a fake out and there's like a second reveal. And I mean, it's just like my poor Sherlock Holmes has just been dragged through the gutter the last few years. And somebody needs to save Sherlock Holmes. The last season of Sherlock was dreadful, and this is dreadful. And so someone needs to.
We got a new movie to look forward to, right? Sherlock and Watson. Isn't it a Will Ferrell movie though?
Oh dear. Oh my
I might be
gosh. It
wrong.
just keeps going. So I have Sherlock Gnomes at number 41 out of 46. So you saw a movie called Gringo.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of Gringo?
Yeah, Gringo was pretty good. It's a movie that it's only been 2 months since I've seen it, but I don't remember much about it at all. I remember laughing a bit.
Did
I
they
think I
explain why it's called Gringo? Because
so
he's black and
right,
British.
right. So I think Gringo is more of a broad term than we believe it is,
Okay.
and it usually means American, but and he is an American. He's um an American citizen,
Okay.
like
Okay.
not a what's the word? There's naturalized,
Right. Right. Right.
and I forget that he was not born in America, but he
Sure.
is an American.
Right.
It's weird. It's a weird title for it, but especially since they didn't really call him that very often in it. I dozed off for like a little bit during the movie.
Uh-huh.
Not because of the movie, because I get tired sometimes. I'm an old man. You put me in a dark theater. I just want to sleep. But
Yes, I know. We're going to talk about Tomb Raider coming up, but I I got a little sleepy in Tomb Raider,
Mhm.
and my friend will never let me live it down. Like, you fell asleep. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, it called into legitimacy. Like, I think in her eyes, my film criticism from now on, the fact I fell
That's
asleep.
funny. I mean,
I'm
yeah,
human. I'm sorry.
it happens to me a lot more than I want it to. Even movies like I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah.
Like I was so excited to see Suicide Squad, and then when I was watching it, like
Oh,
opening night, I was like, and it might have partially been because of the movie, but
yeah.
yeah. But Gringo, I think I have ranked it 30. Yeah, I have it 30 out of 46. So
Okay.
not
There you go.
awful, but not great.
This is a really random. I tried to see all the animated films, and so I heard about this one. It was called Ice Dragon: Legend of the Blue Daisies, and this is a movie that is made for. It's a faith-based film, although they don't actually in the movie itself talk about Jesus or talk about Christianity. Just everything in the styling, the way the characters talk is like super evangelical, super Southern Baptist kind of Christian. The lessons they learn, and like they did actually a fairly decent job at the animation, and but it's like there is an audience for this that will like it and play it in Sunday school class and be like, look at the great lesson that they learned and the fun songs. The songs are very evangelical songs. Um, and so I don't know, like it's one of those ones I struggle with because I was bored out of my mind, but I definitely know there is a audience for it and people who will like it. So it's hard to be too hard on it, but it's not good. I don't know. Um, so anyway, I gave it just, I mean, the storytelling has no depth. It's not a good movie, but I think there is an audience for this brand of not good movie, if that makes sense. So I have it at 38 in my ranking.
Okay, that's not very good.
No, no, 30 out of 46. But if you are an evangelical Christian looking for something to watch with your kids, you'll probably like it. So if that fits your group, then you should check it out. um, okay, so then we have A Wrinkle in Time. And A Wrinkle in Time is definitely was one of the most, for me, most anticipated movies of this year. I love the book. And I walked out pretty disappointed. And I don't think it was actually just my high expectations, maybe a little bit. But I thought that this screenplay was kind of terrible. I thought it was muddled. I thought it was confusing. If I hadn't read the book, I would be confused of what the heck was happening. I felt like they took sort of the emotional journey of the character in the book and kind of ruined it. Like I said that I felt like it was sort of a yoga retreat video where people were constantly telling her things and giving her motivational speeches, but not having her her grow as a person. And the end of the book, she decides to go and save Charles Wallace and confront it, despite her father and the Mrs. Who's and What's It's telling her that it's not a good idea. But she loves her brother so much that she realizes his importance to just that his importance, and so she fights for him, and she goes, and it's just, you see this like growth of her as a character, from this like selfish character to this person who understands the value of the human beings and other people. And like her, just all the characters are so much richer, so much more interesting. And maybe it's not fair to compare it to the book, but I just felt like they had everything. Ava DuVernay had everything. She had the massive budget. She had the full support of Disney. She had this amazing cast. I don't understand how she messed it up so much, in my opinion. I just, I thought it was boring. I just didn't think it really worked on almost any level aside from some pretty visuals. What do you think?
So I don't know if you remember, but when we discussed this back in February, you were worried about this movie, and I'm like, Rachel, it's okay. Disney, it's not going to be bad. I was wrong. Yes. So I haven't read the book, and this movie was very confusing for me. I'm like,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I felt like the target audience for this movie is kids who don't care, won't question. They'll just look at it and be like, wow, pretty. And they don't care about inconsistencies. There's no rules to this universe. Like, it just didn't make sense to me.
No.
Visually, it's great. Like, and that's the only reason that I have it ranked where I do on my list here, is because visually it was really good. And I do like the cast for the most part, even though I felt like they were underutilized in a lot of cases.
Yeah, agreed.
One of my least favorite parts was the actor who plays Charles Wallace. I did not like him at all.
Yeah, he
I
was
like,
bad.
yeah, when I watch a movie with kids, I want to believe that it's a kid. I watched him and I saw his acting, you know? It didn't come across believable at all.
Agreed.
So yeah, it was very disappointing for me. So yeah,
It was very disappointing.
Mhm.
I mean, do you think that we jumped on the Ava DuVernay wagon too fast? I mean, she made Selma, which was good,
Mhm.
solid movie, but that's really all she's made. I mean, the documentary, but like,
Didn't she do no, wait.
were we too quick to like call her the next big thing? I mean, I
I
just can't believe that she screwed it up this bad. I mean, I don't know. I just can't believe it. I
Yeah.
How did she mess it up? Like, she should have at least gotten the script.
Mhm.
I mean,
I, to be honest, I think that this was out of her depth. It's a bigger scale movie than Selma is. So I just don't think she could handle what it was. And I know isn't she wanting to do a superhero movie or something?
yeah,
I'm nervous
supposedly
for that.
DC. I mean, DC makes an announcement every day,
Yeah.
but so we'll see. But yeah, supposedly there's some random property I've never heard of that she's going to do for DC. I would be very nervous if I were them, because I just
Yeah.
thought this was a mess, and she had everything that you could want. She had plenty of time. She wasn't rushed. It wasn't hashed up in editing. It's not like, like something like Suicide Squad, he can at least be like, it was just edits and reshoots and stuff. Kind of, no, this was her vision. This was her thing. She's, it's her fault. Like, it's her. I mean, I know many people go into creating a movie, but this was her vision. She had every opportunity to make it a good movie, and it just wasn't good. And a lot of the characters were annoying. I thought the girl who played Meg was pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
but
She was.
yeah, I don't know. It was very frustrating, and it is a difficult book. You know, some people say it's unfilmable because so much of what goes on is inside her head, as far as her emotional journey.
Right.
But and it's like so tempting as a filmmaker to want to focus on all of these worlds and these, you know, interesting creations and characters and stuff like that. But that's not what's good about the book. The book is about her coming to understand who she is and how people matter to God, really. I mean, they took out any spiritualism to the book. And the book is really I mean, Madeline Engel is a spiritual person. And so it's not like you don't actually see them talk about Christ or things like that, but there's definitely a humanity to it, in the sense of there's a spiritualism to it, in the sense of understanding the value of human beings to God. And I think they just tried to make it like, it felt like a yoga retreat video to me. And Calvin was completely wasted. Her friend, like a Ron Weasley type, I guess, in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of that's her character. Anyway, it was just incredibly disappointing, and I'm very sad about it.
I was going to
But
ask you though. I know you were worried in our preview podcast about this whole warrior aspect they were going with the
yeah.
marketing. How did you feel about that in the movie?
I mean, again, it was all just her, people telling her she was a warrior, and people telling her she was great, and people telling her to use her, to her flaws and things like that. Whereas in the book, it's her coming to those realizations herself, and her coming to understand these things about herself and about Charles Wallace and about Calvin and these other characters. So it didn't work at all, because she hadn't really done anything warrior worthy for the first place when they were telling her that. And second place, it never seemed like it was sort of internalized in a meaningful way. It was just kind of someone telling her stuff, and that's not interesting to me.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah,
So where'd you have this ranked?
I have it at 40.
Okay. I have it at 32, so I'm a little more generous than you. And that probably has to do with
Yeah,
me not reading the book.
yeah,
So I couldn't be that mad about it, but it still wasn't great. So
yeah. I have it at 40. I have it below a movie from Sundance called Nancy, which I didn't really care for. It was pretty boring. And then I have it above Sherlock Gnomes. So I
okay.
guess I can feel good about that, I guess. Okay, so next up we have the hurricane heist. I did not see this one. You saw it, huh?
I did. Yeah, so I wasn't sure what to expect with this. I kind of thought I wouldn't like it, and I was kind of right. This is another one of those movies where it's a disaster movie, but they don't focus enough on the disaster aspect.
Oh,
Um, it's a lot of people shooting each other, lots of like person on person conflict, which is boring to me.
yeah.
Um,
It looked very sci-fi original movie.
yeah, it
Sci-fi
felt
channel.
very sci-fi original.
Yeah.
There is like a big climax though, with like these three semi trucks driving down a highway as a huge hurricane is coming up like right behind them. And it's so unrealistic. Like you'll see one semi in the air, and there's another semi right next to it that has our heroes on it, and that one's solidly on the ground. It doesn't make any sense, like scientifically. So it was a big mess, and it was boring. Uh, if it wasn't for that end scene, I would have ranked it as my lowest movie of the year. But that was enough to
Yeah.
bump it up to number 44.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
So glad you took that bullet for us. So the next one is one I saw called Journey's End. This is a movie about World War One, and I always feel bad criticizing a movie that is about real people, soldiers. It's about this British battle and whatever, and British squadron, World War One. And this movie was very well cast, but it was so boring. I was dying, and it like they spend so much time in this movie talking about rations. Uh, there's this whole thing uh, about the various food that the chef or whatever is making. I don't know what you call them in the army. They're not chefs, but whatever. The commissary is making, and about like, I don't know. They just spent so much time talking about the food. I was just like, I don't care about this. This is so boring. I mean, it has Sam Claflin, Asia Butterfield, Paul Bettany, like good cast, but I did not like it. It wasn't good to me. So yeah, good job, soldiers. Bad job, movie. So it is 36 in my ranking.
Okay. Did everybody get the food they needed at least?
Basically, I wasn't. Okay. And we have Love, Simon, and this movie, it was pretty groundbreaking, I think, to say, about this young man who hasn't come out as gay to his friends and family, is struggling, and he gets kind of blackmailed by a kid at school. There's a sort of situation, and I don't know. What did you think about this movie?
Yeah, so this was a movie I was definitely looking forward to, and it met my expectations actually. I really enjoyed it. It kept me guessing because I hadn't read the book. Um, but yeah, I felt invested in the characters. Yeah, I really couldn't find a flaw in this movie. So yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot.
It was very sweet. I really enjoyed it as well. I thought that all the performances were really good. I liked even just like small performances. I thought that his parents, Jennifer Garner, is just like become sort of great at playing the mom. She's she really developed into that, and she was great, I thought. And I also really liked Josh Duhamel as his dad. I thought that he was actually really sweet and lovely, and it felt authentic. The only part of the only flaw I have, because I thought all his friends were great, felt authentic to high school. They felt like they were actually high school age. They didn't feel too old, I didn't think, actors. The only flaw is, and I know that the blackmailing kid is supposed to be the villain, but he was very grating. I felt a little of him went a long way, and they could have used less of him. He was very annoying, I felt. And so I don't know. That's my only flaw with it. Otherwise, I thought it was a very sweet little movie for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I enjoyed his character as the villain. He seemed kind of dynamic, which I appreciated. But yeah, he was annoying, which I thought was his job. Um, so if you really dislike him, there was one interesting thing that I thought. There's a scene with the person of the Ferris wheel taking the tickets, the guy with the long hair. Well, in The Walking Dead, that actor with the long hair kills the annoying guy.
Oh, really?
So if you don't like him, just watch that scene in The Walking Dead. Although it's very sad because you like him in The Walking Dead.
They could have just had a little less of him. He's in the movie for quite a bit, and he was just very irritating to me. Sweet movie though, people should see it. I think it's a really and an important movie too, for sure.
Right. I'm disappointed with its box office. Like there's a lot of really bad movies that are making a lot more money than this one did.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, it's a step up that it came out at all and it was embraced as well as it did. But
True.
yeah, it's a little
Guess I can't complain.
It's a little disappointing that it didn't do better. Like I agree with you.
Right.
So I actually have it at number 12 in my ranking.
Okay.
But not really because of any big problems. Just I happen to like these other movies a little more.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was really sweet.
Yeah, I have it at 7, which is it's actually the third highest movie for me of the ones that we're talking about. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And this does, my ranking does include some movies that haven't come out yet because of Sundance.
Right.
We have I Can Only Imagine, and this was about Bart, the guy, I forget his last name, but the guy
Art
that
Millard.
wrote, what's it?
Millard.
That's right, Bart Millard, that wrote the I Can Only Imagine song, Mercy Me, such a great song. And this tells his story starting when he was, little, how he came to know God and then became interested in musical theater and then music, and goes through his whole life and how he ended up getting to the point where he wrote the song. His dad was really abusive, and then he's able to come to the point to forgive his dad. Yeah, so this movie, I mean, faith-based films can be kind of rocky, but I think when faith-based films work best is when they are kind of insular. They're just like one congregation or one person or, like one story, as opposed to like a movement, like trying to start some kind of, those don't work as well. And this, I thought was pretty good. I thought that it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but I thought it was solid, moving. I thought that Dennis Quaid was really good as the dad. I thought that it was a nice build up to the moment of him singing the song. It made me have a whole new love, and I always loved Amy Grant, but now I'm like, Amy Grant is the
Right.
best. And they got like an amazing
I
lookalike. He
know.
looked
I was like, what?
exactly like her.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I thought it was her, and then I read that it wasn't. I was like, whoa. Anyway, the only flaw, I mean, you can nitpick this movie, but the major problem with this movie is that they should not have had the same actor playing him as an adult as in high school. It looked ridiculous having this like
Okay.
30-year-old man for, I don't know how old, but like in high school. It was ridiculous.
Especially when he goes to join the Glee Club, and these are actors that are clearly like high school
Yeah.
age, and you have
And
this grown man.
and his girlfriend was I think younger too,
Mhm.
and so that looked weird. And yeah, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, what did you think of this?
Yeah, so this was a movie that I wanted to see, but I don't like going to see movies alone. And
uh,
I've been trying to like find friends to go with me for like a month and a half. Anybody want to see? I Can Only Imagine.
uh,
No. So finally, this past Wednesday, I finally got the nerve to just go watch the movie by myself. So I went and watched it. There were three people in the theater. It was me and then two women behind me. And
uh-huh.
I'm actually glad that I went alone because I did not expect to have the reaction to this movie that I did have. So I don't think it's a great movie. It's good.
Right,
It's
yeah,
it's definitely good for what it is.
right.
But there's a scene or kind of a montage, like two-thirds into the movie, that really affected me in a
Mm-hmm.
way that I didn't expect. Um, so the movie is largely about him having this awful relationship with his dad. And I can't fully relate to that, but I don't have the best relationship with my dad, or I haven't. And there's been a part of me, like throughout my whole life, I'm like, well, what if my dad dies and I don't have any closure? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a scene when he finds out his dad has cancer, which my mom was just diagnosed with leukemia last year. So you
Yeah.
see this happening, and I'm just sitting in my chair and I'm sobbing. Like
Aw.
I'm like I'm trying my hardest not to like make noises because sometimes you cry
Yeah,
so hard you're like making
yeah.
noises. I'm like
Me
trying to hold
watching Wonder Woman.
it. Yeah. So I mean, it really affected me, that
Yeah,
in that specific scene, but it was a very good movie. It was nostalgic for me because I mean, especially like when you hear him singing The Great Adventure by Stephen Curtis Chapman, I'm like, oh, I haven't heard this song in forever. Like I wanted to sing along with the movie a lot. But
yeah,
yeah, it was very enjoyable. Even if it's not a great movie, it still has an audience, and I think it's worth checking out if you're that audience. So I enjoyed it.
yeah. Me too. Me too. So, where did you have it ranked?
I had this ranked at 13, I believe. Yep,
Okay.
13.
Yeah, I have it at 19. So
Okay.
pretty close. Yeah. Okay. Next we have Tomb Raider. And I already mentioned that I did fall asleep, but only because I was really tired. It's not really a boring movie. There was just the section between where she does the bicycle thing, the bicycle chase, which was really fun.
Hmm.
And then getting to the island was a little slow for me, and I got a little bored. And that's when I fell asleep. But I was also like tired. Um, so this movie for me, I've never played the game. Evidently, my friend said that they do bring in a lot of aspects of the game into the movie. She was really happy about that. Um, but I thought that once they got to the island, like things the pace that got better. But like for a lot of the movie, I felt like it took itself way too seriously. And it was very violent for the kind of movie that I was expecting. Like people are shot at point blank, and I don't know, there was just a lot of violence. But I thought that once they get into the actual tomb and start raiding, and there's like these booby traps and fun stuff, and then I was like, oh, this is fun. This is what I wanted. And Alicia Vikander is great in it. And I feel like the next movie will be really good. This was like you had to get a lot of exposition and a lot of setup out of the way. And now she can just be tomb raiding, like from the next moment on. So I hope that and I do think it deserved to do better than it did, because I thought entertaining enough, even though I did think it took itself way too seriously. And like everybody in the movie takes this whole curse of the tomb super seriously. Everyone believes it, and everyone, you're just like, you think there'd be one sort of cynical skeptic kind of thing, but no, they're like hardcore believe in this thing. um so I don't know, I thought it was entertaining enough, and I really liked her, and I liked some of the action, and I really liked, once again, that tomb raiding part.
Okay. Yeah, this was one that in our preview I had low expectations, which that worked out well for me, because I actually really enjoyed myself during this
Yeah.
movie. I didn't fall asleep, which is good. Um, I think there were a few scenes that were really intense and fun to watch, especially the waterfall and the plane
Yeah,
scene.
that was fun.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of highs for me. This might be sacrilegious. I thought it's a good like female answer to Indiana Jones, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, I
But
would
do
be
you agree
surprised
with
if
me,
there
though,
was
that
a
you think
sequel.
the next one will be even better because now they've gotten all that
Well,
setup out of the way, and they can just like have a fun tomb raiding story?
yeah, but I don't expect that there will be a sequel. It didn't do that well. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe there could. Yeah, but I do think a sequel would definitely be better because you don't have to worry about the backstory so much. You can just get straight into
Yeah.
the action, I guess. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how well it did overseas. It seems like the kind of thing that would do well, but
Right.
yeah, and it does have the best director name ever, Roar Untag.
Oh
Is
yeah, yeah. I remember you love that. The one thing that kind of bugged me was like how much she was tossed around like a rag doll, and
Yeah.
she was perfect. She's the most resilient person ever.
But I loved the fact that the first time she actually like kills one of these henchmen that she's fighting or whatever,
Oh yeah.
she actually like
Hmm.
stops and is like, has this moment where like
Right.
she realizes what she just killed a person. I'm like, I don't think I can't think of when I've ever even seen that in an action movie
Hmm.
before.
No, I agree. I like that too. Yeah.
That was really good. That
Mhm.
was really good. So yeah, it
It
was.
was pretty brutal how she killed him though. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, I thought it was more violent than it needed to be
mhm.
for the
Yeah,
type of movie that it was.
and I
But
don't mind that, but Rachel and I are very different.
but I feel like this is a movie I would that I'd love to take like smaller kids to, and this
Yeah.
was a pretty strong PG-13, I would say.
Right.
So but yeah, I guess with a name like Roar and Thog, you're gonna have some violence in your movie. What can I say? So anyway, yeah. So next we have Isle of
Wait,
Dogs.
where did you rank that?
Oh, sorry. So I have Tomb Raider ranked at 23.
Okay, I have it at 16. So.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Isle of Dogs, Wes Anderson stop motion film that is about these dogs on this trash planet in this dystopian world. And what did you? I know you were a little more nervous about this than I was. What did you end up thinking about it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it occurred to me like when I saw this movie that, or right before I saw it, that the name sounds so much like I Love Dogs. I Love
Yeah,
Dogs. I
yeah,
Love Dogs.
yeah. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yep. But yeah, it was about what I expected it to be. It's
Uh-huh.
not visually it was great, great animation. The
Yeah.
story was okay to me. Um but I wasn't super entertained. It's it's just hard for me to get into this type of animated movie that's rather serious. It's not that funny. Like it's pretty subtly funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. It doesn't fully work for me. I appreciate what it was, but it's not something I'm dying to see again.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. I really enjoyed Isle of Dogs. It was, I was so dazzled by the visuals. I thought it was amazing. I mean, there's just like the backgrounds alone blew me away. Almost every scene, like there's all these scenes where they're behind this like wall of glass, and it's supposed to be like bottles, I guess, but oh, it looked so cool. And like the
Mm-hmm.
way that, I mean, even the Japanese backgrounds, every background I thought was incredible. I was just sitting there like, oh, look at that animation, so great. And I agree, the story had problems. It wasn't perfect. I think but it was kind of funny because the main villain is named Kobayashi, and I work for Kobayashi. That's the company I work for.
That's funny.
Which made me laugh. So I went and told my boss, I'm like, Kobayashi Incorporated is the big, like, it's a pretty big company in Japan. So I don't know if that was like a dig at Kobayashi or what, but probably just by chance. But anyway, it was funny.
Mhm.
But yeah, all the voice work was great. It was so sweet. It was so funny. I loved all the characters except for some of the human characters. But I wasn't really a big fan of the whole, like, I liked the narrative choice of not having subtitles for the Japanese characters. Like old, that was different. They were trying something new, but I think it caused them some problems. It forced exposition, first of all, and second of all, it forced you to have non-Japanese characters explaining what was happening for the Japanese characters
Right.
because we could understand them. And so that's why you had to have sort of some white savior moments, which were unfortunate in this, like, in this exchange student, kind of character that, like, that should have been a Japanese character. And it's a dystopian. I realize that we're not talking about like an accurate worldview here, but like, uh, but I don't know. There were just like, they took some creative risks, but some of those creative risks like caused some problems. But I still was just so dazzled by it that I really liked it, and I can't wait to get the art book. I'm like so excited to be
Yeah.
like, how did they make that?
Yeah, I've
So
I've
yeah.
actually read some I tried to read up a little bit on like what people thought about the movie and the statement that it may be trying to make, and I saw some interesting things relating to how Americans treated Japanese during the World War II
Hmm.
era, and how this is almost a statement with the Japanese treating dogs kind of like how Americans treated Japanese during
That's interesting.
World War II.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
So basically what Rachel is saying is I love I love dogs, right?
Yeah.
I
I
love
love
dogs.
dogs.
I love dogs.
Those doggies were so cute. And so I have I love dogs. I love dogs at 6 out of
Okay.
40.
Wow. Yeah.
I really
Um,
enjoyed it.
okay. I'm not too surprised by that. I figured you would like it. I have it at 20.
And
So,
great music. I loved the Alexander Desplat
oh yeah, it
score.
was
It
a really
was
good score.
so
Yeah.
good. Then we had Unsane. You saw this. This was the Soderbergh movie, all filmed on an iPod. What'd you think?
Yeah. I mean, well, it was interesting that they decided to go that route, and it kind of gave the movie a very amateur feel. A lot of the acting did as well because it seemed like they just found like I don't know. It's a lot of the side characters felt like if you've seen like amateur movies that maybe like a student would make. It felt like actors from those movies. Um, but it was entertaining. It kept my attention. It had some interesting elements to it that I didn't quite expect. Um, it's pretty violent at points. But yeah, it didn't go the predictable route that I was afraid it would go down. So I appreciate it. I didn't love it,
Hmm.
but I think it's worth checking out if you like this kind of film.
I heard Claire Foy is really good in
She
it.
is. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, she's definitely one of the best parts. And
yeah.
I can't really think of things that I've seen her in. I know that she's in that TV
In The
show.
Crown.
Yeah, The
Yeah.
Crown, which I've never seen, and she won a Golden Globe for that, I believe, this
She's a
year.
great
Hmm.
actress. Yeah, very
Yeah,
talented. So where did you rank this?
this one I ranked. Let me pull my list up. I had it at 23.
Okay, cool. All
So
right. So next, I have a little movie called Off the Menu. And this is a romantic comedy starring Santino Fontana uh, and Dania Ramirez. And it's really old fashioned. It's directed by Jay Silverman. It has I don't know, it's just not the kind of romantic comedy that we get very much. And it didn't get much of a rollout. But it's about this guy who's the heir of this fast food like Taco Bell kind of place. And he gets sent to the Southwest to try to find new flavors. He meets the chef, who's the Dania character, and she's like a spit a real spit cracker type character, and she's really protective of her recipes, but so he doesn't tell her who he is. But then they start, and there's lots of like food porn, and there's lots of cute moments, and I really enjoyed it, and it's the kind of romantic comedy that we just don't get very much anymore. And I love these kind of romantic comedies, and so I really liked it. Probably more so than it necessarily deserves, just because I like so yearn for those kind of movies.
yeah.
Anyway, so I have it at number 10 on my
Okay.
ranking. I really like it. So if you like rom-coms, check it out. And we did a whole podcast on with Cinco de Mayo recommendation rom-com on over on my Hallmarkies thing. We talked about this one.
I bet Overboard was number one, huh?
Right. So okay, yeah, you have to wait for our summer recap to hear or you can check out my review of Overboard.
Yep.
Okay, so next we had Pacific Rim Uprising. This is our sequel to the Del Toro film. And the Kaija and the Jaegers fighting, and I don't know. What did you think of this movie?
In one word, exhausting. And that's what I knew. I knew that I would be setting myself up for this kind of torture. But yeah, it's just nonstop action that
Ugh,
just gets so boring, and I just can't get into it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean they did a great job with visual effects, sure, like, but that doesn't impress me enough to overcome what I had to subject myself to. So,
See, this movie is a gift to Jurassic World 2 because there is no way it's going to be worse than this
oh,
movie.
not even close. Come on,
Just kidding.
trying to
No,
fight.
this movie, this movie stunk. I hated this movie. It was terrible. I honestly think some of the Transformers movies are much better. Like
Oh yeah.
this was just terrible. Like it wasn't fun at all of the characters. I like it was a phenomenal feat that they managed to make every single character irritating and
Mhm.
annoying and shrill. And like there wasn't like at least like some of the Transformers I like Optimus, you know, like there's a few like I don't know, like I'm reaching here, but and like Michael Bay has some flair for directing action that you know that's kind of fun. This is just it was terrible. I thought it was awful. It was boring. It was way too serious. It was stupid. It was everything that I hate. I thought it was awful.
Wow. And I thought
Yes.
I hated it. See, this is
Yeah.
another one of those movies that I fell asleep in for a little bit, but
Yes.
unfortunately, it's one of those movies that you can't stay asleep in because it's too loud.
Yeah. Uh,
But,
yeah, no, it's true. It was very loud. And like the original Pacific Rim, like has some good performances. It has some charismatic,
mm.
and it has some visual appeal. And this, it was. I just thought it was terrible. I couldn't believe that it was as bad as it was, but it was that bad. Um, so the I have it at 44 out of
Okay.
46 in my ranking. The only reason I don't have it as dead last is because the White Fang movie, I thought really offended me, and so that's always gonna be worse. And then the Lou over the wall literally made me nauseous. Like I thought it was gonna throw up because it was so like. And so I figured those two sins are worse than Pacific Rim Uprising, but
Right.
it was terrible, I thought.
Yeah, so you're making me feel like I love it compared to you because I had it all the way up at number 38.
King of generosity.
I know. I
No,
mean,
I'm
and
just
I do my rankings as I go. Like so after I leave a movie, I usually wait the next day and then I throw it in my rankings wherever. So I probably was feeling a little more generous then than I would be now. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
no. Like when you watch a movie and you're like, wow, Michael Bay would have made this much better.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. Better things. There was a little movie called Sergeant Stubby, An American Hero, and this has become my new indie champion that I am like trying to get everyone to see because it's so great. I mean, I don't want to oversell it, but like I literally have not recommended it to anybody that hasn't liked it. This movie is so sweet and so like I don't know, it's just made by this is their first film, this small animation studio out of Atlanta. And they did such a good job. It looks really good. This dog is so cute. And they avoided it's based on a true story about this dog that actually was named a sergeant in the World War One. This dog. And they did so many smart things. First of all, they don't have the dog talk. That was brilliant. That would have been so easy to do with animation. It's just a dog, just a cute dog. And they
Also,
don't,
you're not gonna do what Show Dogs does?
yeah.
Oh.
And there were so many like places that a lesser script would have gone that would have made it more like kid friendly, but they didn't. And they managed to like walk that fine line between not um between having a realistic enough depiction of war and the sacrifices of war, intense scenes with them putting on the gas masks and people dying, and there's even a moment where at the end where the narrator says, I don't know why they decided to put out troops when the armistice had been signed, like because they actually had people fighting until literally noon, the end of the treaty, like till to the last minute. And she's like, I don't know why they decided to do that. And there were prices to be paid for that fighting. And I thought, wow, that's such a bold thing for a movie for children to just admit. I don't know. We don't know all the answers. Like that was really cool, I thought. And it's not an Americana like nationalistic piece because like the French are shown as very human, the Americans, and then there's some British, and also even the Germans are shown to be human on occasion. And I was so impressed with it. I really thought it was so sweet and so like, but they don't. It's not traumatizing to children. Like I would feel 100% comfortable showing this to a group of first graders, second graders. Like it would be completely fine, and you could have such a great conversation. But it's not like a rah 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 kind of movie. It was just like this sweet story of this soldier and his dog. And I don't know, I was very impressed with it. And so I actually have it at number 4.
Oh wow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this was a movie that kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like I hadn't really heard of it, and then it was playing at all the theaters in town, or three out of four, I should say.
Yeah.
But it was gone within a week, so I didn't get to see it.
But hopefully people will check it out because I could really see it being worked into curriculums and stuff like that because it's just it would really be a good fit for that. And they didn't have any distracting celebrity voices. Like that Logan Lerman plays the soldier and then Gerard Depardieu plays this French chef soldier, and he was good. But it was nothing. And Helena Bonham Carter is the narrator, but it wasn't like distracting. You weren't sitting here thinking, "Oh, that's Will Smith." Like
Right.
you were just immersed in the characters, and I just think it was so smart to not have the dog talk. Like that would have been such an easy thing for an animated film to do. And they nailed it. They nailed it. And I was very excited. And it's cool when you, especially when you love a medium like animation, to see a new, fresh voice come in and do something. And just to show that, you know what? You can have $20 million in your budget and you don't have to make Norm of the North. You can make something that's pretty darn good. You don't need $120 million to make a good animated film.
Yeah, very true.
So okay, so then you saw I Kill Giants. This was nominated for, was this like a foreign film nomination or something like that? No?
I don't think so because it's in English.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something
Yeah,
else.
I'm not sure. But yeah, this was a movie that I thought seemed interesting based on the trailer. So it's about a little girl who basically she sets traps and she has like bait and everything to kill giants. And her friends and the people at her school just think she's crazy. They don't understand. Um, it went the route that I expected it to go. It reminded me of specifically one other movie. And if I do compare it to that movie, it might give away a bit about what this movie is like, but I think I'm going to do it anyways. Um, so yeah, it reminded me of A Monster Calls.
Okay.
Um, but I don't think it had the charm that A Monster Calls had. And it certainly didn't have the unpredictability because, yeah, like I knew what the movie was going to be before I even saw it. So I was a little bit bored. I didn't find the girl who played the lead endearing at all. She was kind of annoying. Um, I It felt like the visual effects were used sparingly because of budget reasons. When they did show things that were like the monsters, like or the giants, I should say, it did look really good, but it was really hard for me to get into this movie, and I
Mm,
was kind of
mm,
disappointed about it. And it has really good reviews, so
yeah. Hmm.
I guess I'm in the minority here. And really, this is incorrect because I do have it below Pacific Rim Uprising, which it's not worse than that. But I have it at 40 out of 45, so
Okay. Okay.
I didn't really like it,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Interesting. Okay. So then we get to one of the big blockbusters. We have Ready Player One, based on the Ernest Cline novel. And so I had a lot of anticipation for this because I did love the book
Hmm.
and I'm a defender of it.
Right.
People nitpick it to death. Um, and it's not as good as the book. They changed a lot. If you're a big fan of the book, it is a little hard to swallow because they changed so much. But I still think it is a fun film. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like it quite as much the second time I saw it as the first time I saw it, which surprised me because I thought the second time I'd be like looking for more and more of the Easter eggs and things. But I don't know. I didn't have that experience. For some reason, the second time I saw it, I just found myself not as engaged as I was the first time. But it's visually just stunning, beautiful. I think that it does have enough heart to work that it I think it's a fun sort of old-fashioned kind of type of blockbuster that we don't get all that often, that feels almost like an 80s kind of blockbuster. I think that kids will especially love it and enjoy it. But on the other hand, they have this whole sequence in The Shining, which I thought was cool and amazing,
Oh,
but sort of
spoilers, Rachel.
uh, but sort of an odd choice. That's not in the book. That it was sort of an odd choice though, because I feel like this is such a kid-friendly movie, but then have this R-rated movie sequence. I thought was sort of strange, but still, it was cool. And overall, I did enjoy it quite a bit. What did you think?
Yeah, so I think that the key to really enjoying movies is not reading the books that they're based on. So I had never read Ready Player One, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is my number one movie of the year." Spoiler: it's
Oh,
not number
ooh,
one anymore. Uh,
okay.
but yeah, I enjoyed it enough to go see it again the same week.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I wasn't gonna say it, but since Rachel already put it out there, the whole Shining thing I really enjoyed because I didn't expect it. They didn't show that in the trailers, so when it happened, like our whole audience was like, "What? Whoa!" Um, yeah, visually, it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it references so many movies I love, especially like the first egg challenge. You have King Kong, which I love. You have Jurassic Park, which I love. So I was like, "Ah, this is my kind of movie." I like the characters. It was cheesy in parts, but what I liked about that is that they acknowledged that it was cheesy. They're
yeah.
like, we're doing this anyways, even though it's cheesy. Um,
Yeah, and I think it had a nice heart at the end, a nice
mhm,
message, and yeah. So I did enjoy it.
mhm.
I have it at 11,
Oh wow, okay,
so pretty high,
yeah,
and yeah,
it's
I think
two for me.
you have it at number two.
Yep.
So you still have Annihilation at number one.
No, Annihilation's number three.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get to my number one movie.
Ooh, that's exciting. Oh, and you saw a movie called Gemini.
Yeah, Gemini. It's a Neon film. He
A what
so
film?
Neon Studios.
Oh, I
I
haven't
know
heard.
they've done other things. I feel like they did Good Time. I might be making that up.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, visually it's really cool. It has like this kind of bluish filter throughout the whole film. Um, it's it had some good twists along the way. So it's basically about. Wow, it's hard to tell you what it's about without getting into too much spoilers because something big happens pretty
Yeah.
soon into the movie.
Is it like a horror? What kind of movie is it?
And wow, that's hard to say. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what it's about. So it's about this actress, and she has a personal assistant, and there's something going on with the actress. She she's deciding she doesn't want to do a film anymore, and you hear like pretty early on like three different people reference that they want to kill her because they don't like how she's acting. A lot of people think that she's having a relationship with her personal assistant, um, but something happens pretty early in the movie, so almost becomes like a mystery, like a whodunit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I might be saying too much, but yeah, it definitely kept me on my toes. It was a little slow at parts. I like the casting a lot. Um, there's something near the end that I did not expect at all, and part of that was because of my lack of perception. Like I literally misread something on the screen at one point. But if I had read it correctly, I might have seen something coming, but I didn't. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. I had this movie ranked pretty high. It's number 12 for me for the year.
I hadn't even
So,
heard of it. Interesting.
yeah, I mean, it didn't go to a lot of theaters. It came to town here, but I think it only played at like 44 theaters in the country.
Hmm,
So, but you should check
okay.
it out
Yeah.
sometime. I think you might like it.
Okay. Cool. Next we have A Quiet Place. This is our John Krasinski debut. The people have to stay quiet because these creatures will come and attack you. So this movie, I'm not that big of a horror fan, but when something's well made and it's not too graphic, I'll go see it. And I this movie I thought was very effective at doing what it was trying to do. I don't know how much rewatchability it has, but I didn't really care because like I was so tense when I like this movie like worked me up into like such a like tizzy, I guess you'd
Mm-hmm.
say, that like I was leaving the theater and there was a guy who was like there was like a spot where they have like the water fountains or whatever, so it was kind of into the wall a little bit, right? And he pops out, not trying to scare me, but because I was so like tense, I was like, ah! And he was like, "What's wrong with you, lady?" But but that's how like worked up I was, and when I saw it, it did such a good job. I thought of like just tension, 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 and her like and this baby. Oh my gosh, I was just like, how is she gonna have this baby? Oh, what? And I thought it was really good. I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last time we did the podcast previewing these movies, this was my most anticipated film.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those movies that I just knew I was going to love. And like I almost felt like a proud father like going into this because this was like my movie that I had been anticipating for so long.
Yeah.
So I was like, please let it do well. And it did do well. And it is my number one movie of the year so
Okay.
far. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. It's about what I expected, which is rare. Like almost always like a movie either surpasses or doesn't get to my expectations. But this was right where I expected it to be. Um, yeah,
It was better than I expected it to be just
okay,
because I didn't have those expectations,
right, right.
because I'm not a horror person. But I mean, you could nitpick it, like the design of the aliens wasn't that creative. It was pretty generic. Like it is kind of amazing that they never realized the cure, this how to solve it, out of all these people, but I didn't care. It worked. I don't know. I thought it did such a good job of drawing you in and building that tension and make you feel tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie that is easy to like emotionally invest
Yes.
yourself in these
Yeah.
characters and their choices. A lot of bad choices are made, but it feels realistic that these specifically these kids would make these bad choices because they're kids. Kids do dumb things. Um,
You're
I
talking about
do.
the beginning?
I'm talking about yeah, the beginning. A few different things. I think there's choices that all three of the kids make that are not the best
Mm-hmm.
choices.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a little ironic that it's called A Quiet Place when you go and see it in a movie theater and people can't be quiet.
Oh,
Like,
see, I was lucky. I had a good
oh, really?
theater. I had a good theater.
Okay.
They were quiet. Yeah. I was
Well,
very fortunate.
I think my theater tried to be quiet, but I went and saw this at Alamo Draft House the first time, which is a theater chain that's very well known for if you talk, you get kicked out. Like they have very strict rules about that.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, they have the popcorn that they give you, they give them in big metal bowls.
Oh.
So I kept hearing like this seeds from popcorn being like shuffled around these metal bowls that are just like resonating throughout the theater. And it got really annoying. I wanted to be
Oh
like, stop
man.
eating your popcorn.
See, I went to this really late at night because I thought maybe I'd have a better chance of having a less full theater. I went to
Hmm.
like 10:30 or something, and it was still pretty full. But I don't know if that helped that it was a pretty adult crowd
Okay.
by that point, and I don't know everything. It was super quiet, so I was very lucky in that regard. But I've heard other people make that same complaint. Like I
Right.
can't even imagine how infuriating it would be if somebody like, can you imagine if somebody brought like a baby or something like
Oh
that?
yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
so, oh, I would be so mad. I've heard of things like that with other people, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great movie. But I do not think this sequel idea.
I like the idea, but I hope they focus on other people. I like that's what I liked about 10 Cloverfield Lane, that it was like completely different people and you're seeing it just from a different point of view.
Okay,
I would
I
like
guess I
that
could
with
see that because I'm like they know. They know what
right.
to do. So what are you gonna do? They don't have to be quiet. What are you gonna call it? The loud place? Like what? I would not last long in a quiet place. I'd be a goner very quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I have it at number 7.
Okay,
I don't know if I
that's
said
pretty
that.
good.
Yeah,
Yep,
on my
one
ranking.
for me. Number
Yeah,
one.
cool. Okay, then you saw Blockers.
Yeah, Blockers was a movie that I thought looked really funny.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, they showed all the funny parts in the trailer.
Oh, I hate that.
So, yeah. So just watching the movie, like I would like chuckle. There wasn't like a lot of laugh out loud moments for me. There were other people in theater who died laughing at things that they showed in the trailer. And I'm like, we've seen this. Have you not watched the trailer? So I was just confused why people were laughing so much. Um, it was still sweet. Like it's a good parent-child movie. You wouldn't think that because it's about them blocking their kids from losing their virginity. But it was good to see the bonds between the parents and their kids
Mm-hmm.
as good as I'd hoped it would be.
Mm. So
Um,
where do you have it ranked?
I have it ranked at number 14.
Where do you have game night? Just out of curiosity.
Game night, I think, is number 5 or 6. It's
Okay. Yeah.
5.
I have game night at 8, so it's in my
Okay.
top 10 still. So funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you also saw Chappaquiddick. I did not get to see this. I really wanted to, but I just ran out of time. What did you think?
Yeah, Chappaquiddick, I was interested to see how they would try to portray Ted Kennedy because he's still pretty revered among Democrats,
Yeah,
and Hollywood's typically very liberal, so I
the
didn't know if they would.
Lion of the Senate.
Right, exactly. I didn't know if they would treat him with kid gloves, but they actually made him a very dynamic character. You saw choices he made. So, in case anybody doesn't know, this involves him uh, being in a car wreck, driving over a bridge with a woman in the car with him, and he leaves her for dead and doesn't report it for like 13 hours. So basically, he is responsible for this woman dying, and
Yeah.
they did find out that she didn't die instantly. She was in the car and she was able to breathe for quite a while until
Mhm.
she suffocated. Um, so if it had been reported, a life could have been saved. So you see choices he makes and you can almost understand why he makes them because he has his whole reputation to worry about. Um, so he's not a complete monster, but he's not a good guy based on how they present it, which I appreciated that. And also a thing that they do is if there's anything that they don't know for sure about, like they don't know for sure that he was drunk, it's
Mhm.
highly assumed he was. They don't show him drinking. They show him at a party and there's lots of alcohol, like cans and stuff around. You watch him and you think, oh, he could be drunk, but you don't know for sure. So I appreciated that. I thought they were very fair and it was very effective.
Hmm.
And yeah, it kept my attention. I think it's a very good film.
Cool. Like I really want to. I definitely want to see that. It
Mhm.
looks good. So all right. So then you
Yep.
also we have a couple here that you've seen that I haven't seen.
But
Uh,
first of all, I had that
oh,
ranked at
sorry,
number,
sorry.
yeah, I had it at 22.
Okay, cool, good. Okay, then you saw You Were Never Really Here.
Hmm.
I did
Yeah.
not see this. I decided not to.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think that it's a Rachel film.
Well, I just read on IMDb they said extreme violence. So I'm like, if they're pulling out the extreme word, I'd
Right.
probably pass.
Well, the thing is, there is extreme violence in this film, but they don't really show a lot of it. You see the aftermath of it, which is an interesting technique they did with the film,
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I liked this movie more than I did. I think I do need to watch it again, which it might be hard for me to muster up the nerve to try to watch it again. Joaquin Phoenix is great in this. It's some of the best acting I've seen from him. He's
Mm-hmm.
he's always very good though. Um, it's a very short film for what it is. It's just at 90 minutes pretty much. I just felt like it was missing a lot. It it's a very incomplete story, which was done on purpose, I believe. They wanted to let the audience come to conclusions themselves. They didn't want to treat the audience with kid gloves, give exposition. But for me, it wasn't as effective as I had hoped it would be. It was, yeah, it was difficult for me to really get into it. I objectively think it is a good film, but for me, it was not as enthralling as I would hope it would be. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard really divisive responses to this
Mhm.
movie. My friend Phaedra loves it, but then I had other people who did not care for it. So where did you end up ranking it?
Um, I ranked it at number 29, so not super high, not super low.
Okay, cool. And then one more that you saw that I have not had a chance to see. It really want to see. Lean on Pete. What did you
Yeah.
think?
Okay, Lean on Pete, I just saw last night. So it's about a boy who he's living with his father. His father is kind of a deadbeat guy, but you could tell that the dad really loves his son. Some things go wrong. This boy, he has this job working with a horse. The horse's life is in danger of, he's basically about to be put down. So the boy makes some decisions and decides to run off with this horse. Um, First of all, I have to say that Charlie Plummer, the kid that plays the lead actor in this film, he was in All the Money in the World. I really think Charlie Plummer in 10 years, he's going to be one of those big names.
Mm.
He's for me, he gives me like young Leonardo DiCaprio
Oh, I was
vibes.
gonna say, is he like the next Christian Bale or something?
Yeah. No, I think that he's going to be
DiCaprio.
around in Hollywood for quite a while, and he's going to be one of the bigger names eventually.
Cool.
I think he's a really good actor.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, his performance isn't like over the top emotional, but it's so believable. Him as a 16-year-old, I don't know. He at one point he says he's 16, then he says he's 15, then he says he's 18. He's lying about his age often, or confused about his age, but he feels like he's that age. The way he rambles and he talks to the horse a lot, it feels like somebody that age just saying whatever random thought comes to their mind. It's so believable. He is really good in this role. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I don't think it's going to be something that will get him an Oscar nomination, especially with where this is released in the
Yeah.
year. But I wouldn't be mad if he did.
Okay. I'm really excited to see this. I want
Mhm.
to. It's playing up at the Art House Cinema
Okay.
in Salt Lake. I just haven't gotten out there lately, but I really do want to see it. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's a heavy movie too. So
Mhm. It's pretty
you
long too, isn't it? It's a pretty long.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little over 2 hours. But yeah, it definitely will reach you at an emotional place, like seeing the struggle that this boy's going through. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Very good movie.
Where do you have it ranked?
I have this ranked. It's hard when I just see the movie, but I have this at 11.
Cool. Okay. Then we have Rampage, and we both finally won. We both seen after.
Yeah.
Um, and Rampage, you might be surprised to hear, I actually enjoyed, and here's why. So, for this kind of spectacle blockbuster, okay, I need you to do at least one of these things. You need to have characters that are charismatic performances that I'm interested in, uh, or you need to have some kind of spectacle that feels new and fresh that I haven't seen a million times before. And for me,
It was the characters, wasn't it?
this movie provided enough with The Rock and particularly his
Okay.
relationship with the ape that I felt was pretty good. And I thought that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was super charismatic and fun. So both of those performances were charismatic enough to carry the movie. Oh, or it should be either funny or scary. So you have to either be like charismatic performances, either be funny or scary, and provide some kind of new spectacle that I haven't already seen a million times before. So something like, for me, Kong Skull Island fails all of those tests. I've seen that spectacle before. The characters weren't interesting or charismatic, and it provided it was not funny or scary. So X X X X. But
Oh,
this movie, it had 2 really charismatic performances. It had some emotion. It had enough humor. And I have personally have never seen a giant crocodile take on a giant wolf. That was new. It was fun. It was something
You
new.
haven't seen that?
No, I never have. And so it was a new spectacle. It was fun to me. And I'm not there are problems with this movie. The villains are terrible and they almost ruin it because they're so annoying. Malin Ackerman cannot act, in my opinion. She is terrible in this and in many other films. And it definitely has some dry patches where you're like, come on, it's getting boring. But it's not that long. It's only an hour and a half long, so it doesn't like a lot of these other blockbusters are 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes. You're just like, oh my gosh. But
Right.
this was I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. So one of my friends complained that there wasn't enough action, and I was like, "Oh, I'm glad there wasn't more action
Yeah.
because that's what kind of bores me with this type of movies." I think it knew when to have action and when to pull it back. So I had a lot of fun watching it. It's about what I expected it to be. It's not a great quality movie, but it's still enjoyable for me. Yeah, it was definitely something fun and new.
Yeah. Yeah. So it it's not like a great movie, but I guess like I feel like people think I'm like, oh, you never like blockbusters or like people think I don't like dumb movies. I do like dumb movies, but it has to engage me in one of the ways that I laid out.
Right.
Charismatic performances, be either scary or funny, or provide some kind of new visual spectacle that's like, oh wow, that's amazing. And most of them fail that fail that part. And so this I have at 18. I have it
Okay.
just below The Commuter and just above I Can Only Imagine.
Okay. Well, we are pretty on the same page here because I have it at 17.
Yeah. So I'm not as much of a Grinch as people make me out to be when it comes to stupid blockbusters. Then we have Wilding. You saw this?
Yeah, Wildling. So this is a movie about um, basically it's about a girl who's raised in this cabin with her father, and he tells her that they're the last two people alive, and that she can't go outside because there's this creature that eats children, and she can't go out because she's the last she's the last one left, and it eats children. So it reminded me of a combination of Brigsby Bear, which I don't know if you saw that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
My top 10 last year.
Okay. It reminded me of a combination of that and a movie called Raw, which came out last year. Which I don't want to tell you what that's about.
I heard about it. I didn't see it. But
Okay, I might give away a little bit about this movie, but
interesting. Okay.
but yeah, it definitely kept my attention. It felt very low budget, but yeah, it it has a few twists along the way that I may or may not have predicted in my head before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
But I think it's fairly entertaining, and it's not too gory when it could have been pretty gory. So I would recommend it, even though I don't think it's an amazing film by any standards. But it was entertaining enough, and I ranked this movie at number 27.
Okay. Then we have Truth or Dare. And this just looked terrible from the trailers, but what did you think of it as the horror guy?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie was kind of like Final Destination without the charm.
Okay.
I like the Final Destination franchise a lot. Yeah, it was pretty stupid. The characters made lots of bad choices. I don't think that they went where they could have. This might seem weird for you, but I wanted it to be more gory and violent than it was. It felt like it was trying to have
this PG-13, I think.
Oh yeah,
I think
I didn't realize that. So it has this violent premise, and they keep talking about these gruesome deaths that people are going through, but we didn't really get to see it. There was hardly any blood in this movie, which is kind of surprising.
Well,
Uh,
that's why, because PG-13, you can't have blood.
oh, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, it was just kind of dumb, and
Yeah.
I mean, it kept my attention, but it's certainly not a good movie by any
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah, it looked terrible. So where did you rank it?
It's number 34 for me. So.
Okay. Then we have I Feel Pretty, and I'll put a link down to my review of this movie. I know that this movie has gotten trounced by the critics, and a lot of people didn't like it. This is the first time I've ever seen an Amy Schumer movie, so I had
Okay.
no like going into it biased against her, for her, whatever. And I actually really liked this movie, and I think that critics are a little, like, everyone can have their own opinion, but I think they're actually a little off base, because I've heard a lot of people say that it's like encouraging fat shaming or whatever, and there's a couple moments where like she's supposedly too fat to be like on a an exercise bicycle, and that are a little over the top for the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually think the movie is about insecurity, not about weight, because she is very insecure about almost every part of her body. She's insecure about her skin. She's insecure about her face, her just everything, like not just her weight. And there's characters in the movie who are bigger than her, who are confident, or pretty confident at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are characters who are slimmer than her, who are not confident. They're insecure about their voice, they're insecure about whatever. And I thought that they did a really good job of like honing in on this insecurity that so many women feel. And when they if they can just feel that, if they can just, when Amy Schumer sees this other person in the mirror. And I loved the fact they never showed us what she saw.
Right.
We never saw the shallow Hal skinny person.
Exactly.
And so that you really saw just her being pretty in her eyes made her more beautiful. And
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there are points where they maybe make her a little bit they make her a little too unlikable. And I think that it was a mistake to have her work in fashion, because it kind of created this like strange dichotomy of the very thing that was causing her insecurities is the thing that she ends up working at. It was sort of weird. Like, I think the ending speech would have been better if it wasn't like a pitch for makeup. Like, that's kind of a weird dynamic, I think. But I laughed a lot. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was sweet, and it really reminded me of the sort of comedies we used to get from like Penny Marshall in the 90s.
Okay.
Something like that. And they do pay homage to Big, which is Penny Marshall movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it. I just don't agree that it's like some kind of fat shaming kind of movie. I think it was really actually positive, and it's something I would love to take my nieces to and have a discussion about insecurities and body image. And I really liked her boyfriend in it. I thought that he was good, and I don't know. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, it was definitely better than her last film, Snatched, for me. Yeah, I laughed at this. I think my favorite scene was the the wet T-shirt contest.
Yeah, yeah,
That made me laugh a lot. But yeah, I think Amy Schumer showed more dynamics than we've seen from her, or I guess not you, since you haven't seen anything else from her. But
yeah,
like, there's even a scene in the beginning when she's just looking in a mirror. And I think most of us have had that moment where we look in the mirror and we're just not happy with what we see.
yeah,
And you can just see it in her eyes without being too over the top, without her saying anything. You can just see her looking at herself and just feeling really disappointed. Um, but yeah, I actually, one of my favorite parts of the movie was Michelle Williams.
yeah.
I thought she was so fun. She
She
just
was
transformed into a different character that we've never seen.
she
Uh,
was really funny, and uh and it's just, I'm so used to seeing her as this like indie darling,
right.
in movies, that
Mhm.
you forget that she has those comedic chops. She was really good. I don't know. I just disagree with the harsh criticism on it. I really do.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't think it's the best comedy. I don't think I've seen a few comedies better this year, but it's still good, and I think it does have a positive message that
Yeah.
people might not. I think people who don't see it might think that it has more of a negative message than it does have.
Yeah, agreed. All right. So I have it at 15 in my rank.
Okay, I have it at 24, so not quite as high as you.
Okay. So then we have Super Troopers 2. You saw this. I never saw it because I didn't see this first Super Troopers. What do you think?
Yeah, I hadn't seen the first Super Troopers either, but I think it was Tuesday, I pulled out my DVD of Super Troopers because I don't know. I think I've mentioned this before, but I have a lot of DVDs that I've never actually seen.
Uh-huh.
I own over 1,000 movies that I've never seen in my life.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, but so I pulled it out the other day. I still have it up in my room. So yeah, I watched it
Yeah.
and it was stupid, but funny-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and saw the new one, and it was also stupid, but funny-ish. Not a lot of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it has an audience, and it's not really me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's if you like the dumb bro comedies, this might be your thing. It's not necessarily my type of humor. So
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised this was like a Kickstarter. Did you hear that?
oh, I
It's
didn't
like
know
a
that.
yeah, or some kind of yes. It's like I don't know, just funny. There's evidently a huge Super Trooper community that
Mhm.
like helped fund it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it won that I think it won the Friday night that it came out, well, with Thursday previews.
Mm.
So it looked like it was off to a great start, but by the end of the weekend it was like 5 or 6 at the box office. So I think everybody just went and saw it that first night and then
Oh. Where did
didn't
you have it ranked?
it's pretty low. I have it at 42 out of 45.
Oh, okay. The movie I wanted to mention is a movie called Maya the Bee, The Honey Games. And this is a sequel to the 2015 film Maya the Bee, based on the 1980s television show. And I was actually a fan of the first one. I thought it was very sweet. This is for your 5 and under sect. Very, very little kids. It's very cute. It's very sweet. I like the fact that it has a cute and fairly well developed male character and female character. So I think that little boys and little girls will both like it equally. And it's not like a Barbie movie that's obviously for girls, or whatever. And this is a very standard plot. If you're looking for something that's like new and original, you're not going to get that. But it was very sweet, and I kind of think that the character animation and the style I think is really cute. I like it.
Good.
So I think for what they're trying to do, I think they did a good job. I think it's cute.
I didn't even know there was a sequel.
Yeah. So if you have a kindergartner, get it. They'll like it. Maya the Bee, I have it at 26
Okay.
in my ranking. What is your top 10?
Okay, I'll go through my top 10. Um, so starting with number 10, I have Thoroughbreds. Number 9 is Avengers Infinity War. Number 8 might surprise some people, but I really liked it. Peter Rabbit.
Uh-huh.
Number 7 is Love, Simon. Number 6 is Marvel Getting It Right, Black Panther.
Agreed.
Number 5 is Game Night. Number 4 is Paddington 2, which everybody needs to see. Number 3 is Annihilation. 2 is Ready Player One, and 1 is A Quiet Place.
Cute. Okay, so I'm gonna take out the Sundance picks. So the ones that have been released. So let's see here. So I have at number 10, I have, and my other score that I just said was including Sundance. So number 10, I have Avengers Infinity War. Number 9, I have Love, Simon. Number 8, I have Ready Player One. Number 7, I have Off the Menu. Number 6, I have Black Panther. Number 5, Game Night. Number 4, I have A Quiet Place. Number 3, I have Isle of Dogs. Number 2, I have Sergeant Stubby, American Hero. And number 1, I have Paddington 2.
Okay, so we have 7 of the same top 10.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so yeah, that's really interesting. And you know, there are a lot of really fun films. I mean, who would have ever thought that? And that's the cool thing about going to movies is you know, when you give movies a chance, who would have ever thought that you'd have a Peter Rabbit ahead of Infinity War?
I
That's my
know. I
favorite
never would have
ever.
thought.
Or that I would have Sergeant Stubby in my top five, but I really liked it that much.
Yeah.
So that's the fun thing that we get to have. And so anyway, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, the David Healy. That's my Twitter name. And you can find both of us on Facebook in our Film Freaks group. It's facebook.com/Film Freaks group.
Yeah. You definitely want to join that.
Mhm.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews here on iTunes and on YouTube. And you can follow me at Smiling at LDS Girl on social media. So check that out. And thanks so much again for doing this. This was really fun.
Yeah, always fun.